at the 150 homes. And the 65 businesses created is saying that we think there'll be 200,000 square feet across those 5 communities of commercial property that's sold and hopefully multi-tenanted, and in a perfect world, the businesses that are operating in those commercial spaces are representative of the residents in that community having entrepreneurial opportunities. One of the things we'll be looking for is guarantors for master leases for those commercial properties so we can get entrepreneurs inside of them. Once again, wish us luck and we'll welcome your help.
Laura, do you have a process for picking this community?
Well,
clearly Evanston's the first.
Yeah, Evanston's the first one. We have a couple of others, I would say numbers 2 and 3 identified, and after that we'll probably have to, that'll be part of our kind of stakeholder assessment. The properties that we looked at previously were identified based on, as I mentioned, that the balance of the need and the community partner. We're really considering Bond Hill as one of these communities as well. In Bond Hill, we came in the opposite side. We came in on the commercial side, and now we're working in the business district, and could potentially end up in the residential side, kind of on the reverse end of what we did in Evanston, where we're really focusing on the residential first. Other communities, we might start on the residential and commercial at the same time. And within public initiatives, as I mentioned, this is where all of our public finance tools are. This is really the longer term history of the Port Authority has been focused here. We have financed many large projects. We are the owners of the Queen City Square Tower downtown. We've got tools that allow private developers to get incentives to get projects done to help fill gaps. We have worked over the last 3 years to expand this toolkit. The PACE is one of those. We partnered with the Dayton Montgomery County Port Authority to develop a Southwest Ohio Regional Bond Fund. We were the largest city in the state that did not have a bond fund, which can be used to make loans to businesses on a long-term flat rate interest that isn't normally only accessible to much larger companies. So we've got some additional tools to offer to a wider range of organizations. Our operation and management of the foreign trade zone fits into this public initiative piece as well. Probably not the most interesting too. And this is not exactly CDC stuff, but this is the other plank. This is our industrial strategy. And we're focused on the I-75 corridor. You drive up and down Spring Grove Avenue and look at so you start all the way down the river through Queensgate, Camp Washington, and then you continue up I-75 and the Jim Beam site and Stearns and Foster. Lots of sites all the way up throughout the county that were that's where the history of our city really began, our old manufacturing base. Significant number of jobs, very high dense area for manufacturing. And now the number of jobs is probably a tenth of what it was 100 years ago. I still haven't been able to figure out good statistics on that. We've done lots of research trying to identify that. But it's where our city's infrastructure is. We have 2 Class 1 railroads. We have the river. We have the connections between the river and the rails. We have our highway system, the Mill Creek, Cincinnati Waterworks, MSD, and a major Duke infrastructure substation. And little to no business, really at any massive scale other than cow brands, that whole corridor. So our goal here, and it's a lofty one, is to assemble, acquire sites, demolish and remediate so that we can attract the current manufacturing potential tenants or buyers. If you're familiar with Ready Cincinnati, that was reformed in the last year, came out of the chamber, which is focused on a very grand scale on attracting businesses here. 75% of the site selection consultants that come into our market looking for sites are looking for industrial sites. They're looking for large ones. We have none in the county, and so we can't even bid on them. And these are the jobs that industrial jobs provide a great benefit to our regional economy. Manufacturing, logistics jobs pay more than any service industry. The average is, we hear, $44,000. They're attainable at a lower lower educational attainment. Every manufacturing job creates 1.6 other jobs because there's a supply chain to manufacturing that you don't find in the service industry. And industrial zoned land pays more in taxes and assessments to a municipality than any other land use, and it costs less for the municipality. So it's like all this motherhood and apple pie, who wouldn't want it? And we're actually very, very fortunate through that corridor to have thousands of acres of industrial zone land, much of which is not adjacent to neighbors, Camp Washington accepted, where you have to be more careful. But most of that corridor doesn't have neighbors. You don't have, we can put heavy manufacturing in there and not have people complain and actually produce jobs that are attainable for the high number of people that we have that are currently underemployed. So this is going to be ambitious.
You know, we got 15 acres at the common site in Spring Grove that is probably the biggest chunk of land in the county right now.
Yes.
But we also have been dealing with the Crosby building and dealing with the city of Cincinnati with their 30-year, 75% tax abatement policy. They still are even have that together yet. That's what core redevelopment wants with the Crosby building. Do you know what's happening with that, the city policy on that?
Okay, well, so with regard to core, I talked to the city after we met with you, and what they said is they want core. Core's got 3 projects. They want them to do one first before they're going to give them, the store on all 3. And unfortunately, you're number 3 out of their 3. But all I hear is that everybody's incredibly positive about them and what their success is going to be starting at CPA. And so I think everything looks good for the future. It's just not going to happen tomorrow. And with regard to the con site, 15 acres isn't big enough. So there are a couple things with that. One of them is, that they're clearly in my 560 acres. That's part of it. But what we would want to do is assemble more around it, so that we can be more attractive. And honestly, what you have to have, still with that site or Metro West, they're sitting in the middle of, an island. What you have to have is a branded industrial park. We have to say, this is, and give it a nice fancy name, and it goes from here to here, and put boundaries around it and market the whole region, the whole zone. I mean, think of what TechSolve has done. We need 4 or 5 more TechSolves, through that corridor. And that's what we're going to do, and it's going to be hard. Yes?
I just had to get a tent repaired, so I ended up at a thing called Main Tent and Awning, which sounds like a big deal. And it is in Carthage on the very edge of the world, and it is taking up a lot of space in this huge old decrepit building. I mean, it's like you could you ought to be able just to take all of that land, let Main Tent and Awning go wherever they want to go, because they are way underusing.
No, there are 100 cases of that along that corridor, where it was 4 acres that used to have 500 employees and now it has 4. We turned manufacturing into warehouse.
Exactly.
My favorite is there's a pillow storage, which is even worse than tents. There's just a whole huge building just has pillows in it. It's creating no jobs, no property tax value. So we're going to have to raise an enormous amount of money, but in the end, we estimate that there's going to be a return on it. So that's part of our Go Big strategy. And that's it. That's all we're doing. All right. What questions did you ask?
So all the empty residential lots that we're creating in this town, what's the plan for them?
Well, the plan, first I will say how lucky we are that we're not Cleveland.
Yes.
My God, it's just unbelievable. Where everything they're demolishing, there's like no hope that there's going to be something coming back. Our goal in Evanston, where we have maybe 15 lots, is that we're going to attract, we're not going to stop until we attract somebody in to build on those.
Well, there's been 7 lots of Jonathan for 15 years sitting there. PNC's got the one of those, right? But, anyway, no one's been attracted there. So what are you going to do differently to attract people to build?
If we bring 30 new residents in and we demonstrate that there's a market, I will say over on Kleinview, Did you see, so that's who's doing that? On Kleinview, that is Great Traditions, is doing, putting 4 or 5 new townhomes in there. We've got to clean up what we've got first before somebody's going to come in and build. But I don't think it's unreasonable. I think we can get City Rama in Evanston.
I did the development on Lavinia without any public money.
Mhm.
And, that seems to work. That's in Evanston.
Mhm.
So,
Yes, well, and I'm not saying that everything is going to require public subsidy. That hopefully by the end of us doing the 30 homes and providing, I think Catherine's point is a really good one here. We've got to help the rest of the people who live there. We've got to find other tools. And some of that is going to happen naturally because they're going to be able to sell their home and somebody else is going to come in and fix it up. And then there are ways to help facilitate getting credit lines for people to do repairs. And then eventually the real sign that there's success is going to be that somebody's building on the lots. We've done lots of side lots as part of the land bank, but obviously that's not the whole answer. The other thing everybody wants is everyone wants lots for parking, and we're being really cautious about that too. And there are cases though where we're helping the neighbor get the lot because then that larger lot will be more attractive. There'll be more uses for it, and that's more like a commercial site. It can't be that easy.
Well, and I also think when Doug says 15 years, 15 years ago was a whole different century for one thing, but a very different world.
Yeah.
We now
Yeah.
come through this sort of great cleanse and coming out the other side.
And you can't underestimate the fact millennials want to live in the city. They want to live in these walkable communities. We've had two of our 6 home sales at Evanston are people moving in from Anderson to Evanston.
I'll say my standard, which is, I understand really how we're moving to make a change in the larger communities. But as you know, Cincinnati is made up of lots of smaller communities which tend to be more low income than the other communities. And I don't know if there's any thought and future plans about those communities, because I worry that no matter what we do, if we don't build whole, we'll still have people ride through disasters on their way to something else.
I totally agree, and it goes back to your question: how do you choose the communities? How fast? We said to our board we need to accelerate. Is this enough? Is 5 and 10 years enough? No. But if I said like 20 in 5 years, then they could just laugh at me. So we've got to have success, and that's one of the challenges we've had. I've only been here 3 years, and what we do takes a long time. Bond Hill takes a long time. So I don't have all this long list of successes to say, look at this, look at this, look at this. REACH Evanston is the closest thing we have to say, see, it can work. Is it done? No. But you can't tell me that selling a house in Evanston for $182,000 when there hadn't been a sale there in 8 years isn't a sign of success. And then we are doing a lot of work in Price Hill, for example. It doesn't hit this REACH category yet, but we're doing a lot in all levels of Price Hill, including lower. We're partnering with a lot of other organizations that are working in these other communities. Yes?
Do you have any suggestions for what to do about these order investors that you were talking about? Because in a small community, they have a bigger impact than they do in a large.
Yeah, so the ones that are here now, I don't have a very good answer for, but I guess the answer on those is it's code enforcement if they're not taking care of properties. So we're working closely with the city. All your communities should be working closely with the city on code enforcement. So that's number one. And then we are working, the other thing that's happening here, well, I guess it's been happening for a while, the auctions, online auctions. So we are doing our best. We're watching those. We're watching all of the forfeited land in the properties that are going to go to sheriff's sale. And So that's one kind of the auction. And then the other kind are the banks that are starting to dispose of properties on auction. We're proactively looking for people to, we've got it on our website, we're watching, we're the only ones that are tracking the forfeit land sale properties throughout the whole year, because when the list comes out, it's only like 2 weeks before the sheriff's sale. So we're tracking it all year round, keeping it on our website, and then at the end, we're pushing, when it gets published, we're pushing it out to all the CDC partners, so that we can try to create more interest to help keep those guys out. Ed?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, okay.
The other thing that you'll have is the First Look
Yes.
program through NCST,
Yeah,
which is going to give you a shot at those properties, at least the ones going through foreclosure,
Mortgage foreclosure.
before they
Yeah.
get listed
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the marketplace. And it will be
Right.
an opportunity to get the jump on the pros and the spec buy.
So in the past, what we've been able to do is just the tax foreclosures. That's what the land bank has tools for. So now with one of the advantages of the HERC is to have the lead on mortgage foreclosures. And we're also working with banks. I mean, what we would prefer is to have banks reach out to us, even if it means we have to buy properties, not just take donations, although donations are better, so that we have a chance, to facilitate them getting in the hands of a homeowner versus going up for auction. But Billy, I don't know, because there's the auctions and then the tax lien certificate sales. I mean, people are buying those like lottery tickets. They're just saying, and the other thing we did on that point is we did approach the land bank board with the issue of raising the minimum bid at the sheriff's sale, which is currently $1. So people are buying, actually it could be $5. It's either $1 or $5, but it doesn't really matter. So people are buying, I think it's $5. They'll spend $50, buy 10, and not care. Then they'll put them on eBay. They put them on Craigslist, and they're hoping that out of this they buy a bunch of them, that one of them pays off. And so we're trying to get the minimum bid raised so that you're not treating it like it's a lottery ticket. Sorry.
No problem.
Yes.
A couple questions. So, you mentioned millennials coming back in, and the desirability for the millennials coming back in is the walkable neighborhoods, and the amenities that are part of those neighborhoods would be some green space, and then grocery stores that are nearby. So, what are you doing to reinvest, maybe to get Kroger's in or other types of stores in? And then also, there's the aging population, and I noticed that some of them were new construction that you were doing. Are you saying that the new construction has to have at least visitable, so that there's a one no-step entry, because they're building new, it doesn't really cost anymore at all when you build new to do that?
Okay, so we are not doing any building new. We are facilitating property getting in the hands of someone who's building new. And so we're not putting, maybe there's a separate discussion to have about whether, we have to be careful in putting so many restrictions on it that then that people say, forget, I'm not interested. And it depends if they're doing it as a private party or doing it, for sale to others. So I'll put that on our kind of policy discussion at the office.
Sustainability thing.
Right. And as far as the grocery stores,
Making a note,
yeah. As far as grocery stores, obviously that's
And
everyone.
green space and other amenities that would go with the walkable neighborhood.
So yes, we're interested in green space, and in Bond Hill, even at the Midpoint Crossing site, we got a $500,000 state capital grant for green space as part of that. We're putting a walking trail around the whole site. And inside of each of these communities, as the Evanston Business District is going to be developed, obviously, I think our best bet is not Kroger's. It's going to be to have small entrepreneurial businesses in these business districts. I think that is going to be the best bet. The reason that hasn't been possible in the past is that they don't have credit. So that's where we're going to work on an approach to get major institutions to do lease guarantees, master lease guarantees for that space, so we can have more entrepreneurs there. And I think that's going to be the bet to get the coffee shop in the market. I won't call it a grocery store, call it a market. Depending on the size of the community. Obviously, you're in a much bigger community than many that we're working in there. Yes?
most of the talk, we talk about investors in a negative way. Possibly small investors who need some assistance, who are trying to do the right thing in some of the communities. You have a network for them?
Well, so if we're working with investors, and I talked about Ryan Messer as one. We have investors that are identifying properties that they think we could help them with. They're coming to us, and we'll do. We do have tools in certain cases, but it really starts with the property. It starts with the investor identifying property that they're interested in, and then coming to us to see if we can help. I would say. I have, people that have come to me saying, I want to get in the real estate market, I want to invest. I've referred them to, people like you. I've sent somebody to Kevin Wright in Walnut Hills saying, go talk to Kevin. He's got a number of projects underway. So it's not really directly involving us, but it's kind of some matchmaking